Blog Talk Radio.
What time is it?
WH Radio.
Welcome back to WrestlingHeads Radio. This is your host, Oscar, filling in for Skit tonight. And also joining me now, I got Chris on the line. What's up, Chris?
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Crazy-ass weekend I had with PWG and TNA in the state. But before we get to all that, we have a special guest tonight. Our special guest is a former XPW, well, I could say multi-time XPW heavyweight champion, and now currently he's your MexPro World Heavyweight Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to the Messiah. What's going on, Messiah?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you on, man. I've been following your career for like a decade or possibly more, so I'm just happy to have you on, man.
Freaking decade? Oh, dude, I'm so old. Sorry. Jesus.
Man, you're just 25 years old. Don't worry, man.
I'm older than you.
Don't
worry, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. Dude, when I got people coming up to me telling me things like, I used to watch you on TV, I'm like, what? Like, feel like Greg the Hammer Valentine and Honky Tonk Man at indie shows. Like, that's what they must feel like. Like, I used to watch you. Like, you used to watch me. I'm not that old. Jeez, man.
Yeah. Well, you're not the first former XPW star to actually said that. Like, I feel old. You know, we had Chaos here a few weeks ago and said the same thing.
Yeah.
But before we ask the questions, for our listeners, if you guys have any questions for the Messiah, you can always call us at 760-454-1107, or you can tweet us at WrestlingHeads or tweet me at Sinister632. All right. Let's start off with the questions. I'm actually going to start off first. So, Messiah, tell us, your origins. How do you get into the business? When did it all started?
All right, yeah, no, I mean, basically, just like you guys, I was a wrestling fan growing up. And back, I got into wrestling, or I became a professional wrestler in 1996, right out of high school. But back then, dude, it wasn't like you had the internet. Like AOL was just starting, so it wasn't like you could just go on the internet and type in Google and say wrestling school. So really, the only wrestling school I ever knew about at the time was when I used to watch Superstars, WWE Superstars, and then they would plug in Ultimate Warrior wrestling school in Arizona, and I got some information on that. But then also growing up out here in California, there was a cable talk show kind of thing, like a Channel 3, and they had a thing called Wrestle Talk, and the host was Dynamite D from XPW, and I can remember, I think I was maybe 14 years old, 15 years old maybe, I don't know, but, I actually called into the show and talked to Dynamite D, asked him a couple questions, and one of the questions I asked was, how to become a professional wrestler, and he blew me off. He was just like, you got to, have family in the business and whatever, He was polite about it, but he was always plugging a wrestling school called Slammers Wrestling Federation. And around that time when I was 14 years old, my dad, he made a deal with me. If I get good grades, he'll take me down there. I can check out the school. And I got straight A's on my report card. Went down, checked out the school. And actually you had to be 18 in order to be in wrestling school, and I was maybe 15, and sure enough, when I turned 18, I still wanted to become a professional wrestler. My dad said, what about Slammers? And I didn't even think about it, and sure enough, they were still open. Called them, Vern Langen, the owner, called me right back, was really nice to me, and just said, hey, we do shows every Thursday night in Bakersfield. Why don't you come down and check it out? And that Thursday, I went down there, checked it out, and yeah, I loved it, fell in love with it, and the following Sunday, I was in the wrestling school.
Yeah, going back when you mentioned the Ultimate Warrior school, was it called Warrior University?
Yeah, it was like Warrior University, and at the time, like my dad, he traveled a lot, and he used to go to Arizona. So my dad actually went down to the school to check it out because he got the address. And I remember he phoned me on the phone, and he was just like, "Yeah, Bill, down here, there's nothing. There's a facility here. I see weight equipment everywhere, but no one's here." So my dad, at the time, I really, when I think about it, my dad's always been like, do your own thing, but, if I, because I was passionate about wrestling, he would have plopped down whatever the Ultimate Warrior was, asking for, like a, whatever fee it was, like a lot of these wrestling schools now with the whole, $2,000 up front kind of thing. Slammers wasn't like that, dude. All I had to do was pay $25 a week. And even back then for me, dude, being an 18-year-old kid, working at Blockbuster, dude, that was still a lot of money. Making minimum wage, so $25 a week, that was still a lot. I can't imagine, like, these kids now who plop down, like, $2,000 up front, and then they still got to pay, like, a monthly fee. Slammers wasn't like that. They were up front with it. They're like, we're not trying to get rich off you guys. If you want to be a pro wrestler, if you love it, this is a place for you, and we'll nurture that, and they did.
Yeah, definitely very interesting. Well, I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to be hogging you up. But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and I've always been a huge fan of going to XPW. Still have the DVDs, still watch the DVDs. But my favorite time with you was in a promotion, CZW. And 3-time CZW champion, by the way. That was let me get that in there. My thing is, in 2002, you made your debut in CZW Tournament of Death. I believe it was the first ever Tournament of Death as well. And after watching it, I noticed a huge reception by the crowd. Did that reception feel, or did you feel it personally coming from the West Coast to the East Coast? I mean, how did you feel about that reception?
No, it was unexpected, and actually, I didn't make my debut in CZW Tournament of Death. It was after that I had that attack.
Yes.
Like 2 weeks later, I was in the Tournament of Death. Still, like my hand taped up and everything. But still though, my actual debut was in January of 2002, I think, and I was a mystery opponent for Justice Payne. And when I got the call from Zandig, saying, "Hey, do you want to come out here and work?" And I've told this story a million times. By all accounts, dude, it was supposed to be a one-shot deal. CZW just wanted to get Justice Payne over on me. That promotion in California, the other hardcore promotion in California, their heavyweight champion. Let's get our guy over on him. And I knew that coming in. So it was only supposed to be a one-shot deal, but when I came out, I jumped Justice Payne like the big go. The crowd started, or the fans started chanting Messiah, which I wasn't expecting. I mean, I even told Zandig on the phone, and I've always been upfront with people, like, dude, I'll come in. I have no problem coming in, but don't I think I downplay maybe how well known I am sometimes, and so like I always say, I'll come in, but dude, I don't know if anyone's going to know who I am. I always say that. And Zandig was like, no, people know who you are. It's cool. Don't worry about it. And sure enough, they gave me a great reception. And the match that I had with Justice Payne, I'll put it up against anybody. The fact that I knew nothing about Payne, he knew nothing about me, and we went out there and put on the kind of match that we did, I'm very proud of that match. When I look back at it now, I'll nitpick it, because that's just the way I am. But, it just right off the bat, and I got busted open hard way in that match. And I remember I was getting stapled in the back of my head, and Zandig came up to me and goes, "Want to come back?" "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Yeah, of course I want to come back." And that's basically how I got my in CZW.
Yeah, I recall that vividly back then. Because I'm on the East Coast, so CZW was really big at that time, and I recall that, and I remember seeing. I go, "Wow!" Not the fact that we saw you, it was the fact that the crowd popped, and you know, it was like, you know, okay, big and better things hopefully ahead, and which it did. And I just actually watched it recently when I found out you were going to be on, and it was the same feeling as well. I was like, wow. So
well, like I've always, and not to cut you off, but like,
yeah,
I like when I said, like, when I downplayed, like, if people know me back then, dude, there were, you know, I think there was only like RF video if you wanted to get like bootleg tapes of things and whatnot. XPW, dude, you could go to Best Buy and get their DVD.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the only other people, you know, only WCW, WWE, and then ECW finally got like whatever deal that they got. So I mean, realistically, like, dude, that's a big deal. And when I came into CZW, not that any of those guys are going to admit it now, but you know, a couple of those guys came up to me going, "Oh man, you know, I've seen your matches with so, like, oh, you're so, dude, you're great." And I was taken aback by that. But you know, the fact that XPW had those DVDs, like in Best Buy and, you know, Fry's or whatever the heck, dude, that speaks volumes as far as, like, how far-reaching it really was. Like, you know, you got to keep in mind, like, we're an XPW, dude. We're not making a bunch of money, dude. We're wrestling once a month. You know, they're bringing in ECW guys. You know, we came up to that level as far as, and some people's eyes, like, you know, next to Sabu and Chris Candido and Shane Douglas. And so when we would go out to other feds, or when I got fired from XPW, then went to CZW, dude, some of those guys put me on that level with them, almost, which I don't understand it. But it all had to do with the fact that I was on a DVD at Best Buy. You know, that's what a lot of guys, you know, that was a big deal, man. So when I got to CZW, just to have that reception that I got, I was taken aback by it. I didn't expect it at all, but, you know, I worked my ass off in that match to make sure that I had a spot in the company. And, like I said, I was proud of it. So, I mean, you know, and I was there for God knows how long after that. But by all accounts, when I got fired from XPW, you were never supposed to hear of me again. You know, the fact that I didn't have the XPW machine or the Raw Black machine pushing me, you know, into the fan's face, like, this is the guy, and then actually to go out and make something of myself somewhere else in another company, that wasn't supposed to be the deal. When I got fired, you weren't supposed to hear me ever again. And like I said, I'm very proud of being in CZW, and especially at that time of CZW, that was the best locker room in the world. You know, to this day, I mean, I did an interview a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, and the guy who interviewed me brought up the locker room in CZW. Dude, it was just a tight-knit locker room back then. Everyone was for the company. No one was trying to get over on anybody. You know, when you went in the locker room, there wasn't like these little packs of, you know, these little cliques of guys in the corner. Like, everybody dressed with one another. Like, we were all in the same room. It was awesome, dude. And you know, when I think about my wrestling career, I think about that. Not so much like the matches I've had, but the friendships that I've made. And like that stuff, you know, means a lot to me. Being around like Trent Acid and Chris Cash, you know, who unfortunately are no longer with us. But dude, that was an awesome time in my career.
And I'm gonna ask about that. Definitely gonna go into later about that question, but I'll go into it much later. So go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, okay. The next question, well, I actually got two questions from it. It relates to MexPro. November 2nd, it's the Bleed of Los Angeles, I'm trying to read it in Spanish. I'm a bad Spanish reader. Dia de los Muertos Super Show. I still have a call to see you on there. Are you going to be involved in the show somehow?
Not on November 2nd. As much as I want to be part of the show, and I mean, the fact that I am now the heavyweight champion, I should be on the show. I have an injury on my back, and I got to just take a little time off. As far, you know, that's the one thing. Like what's funny is if you look at, I mean, if you do take a look at my career and how I started, especially like in XP, dude, I was doing springboard drop, you know, leg drops, landing on my ass, and dude, it takes a toll on your back. And I'd like to say that I hurt my back lifting or something, But no, dude, it's just old age and not getting up the right way. And my back goes out on me. So just to play it safe, the management of MexPro, they completely understood. As much as I want to be there and support the guys and support the company, unfortunately I'm not going to be there. But I know the guys that they got. I mean, they got Necro Butcher on there. Homeless Jimmy's going to be back.
Yeah.
So, dude, it's going to be a stacked show anyway. So yeah, I really wish I would be there, especially just to see those guys. But yeah, unfortunately I'm not. But hopefully everybody still goes out, supports the show, and I'll definitely be on the next one.
I'm going. So, to me, I understand if you're injured and you can't make it, it's all good. So, I'm still going to go. But my second question to you is, the last show, Luke Hawx won the number one contender match. So one of these days you're going to have to defend your title against Luke Hawx. I just want to ask you, what's your thoughts of Luke Hawx? Like, you probably knew this guy for a while already, so.
Yeah, no, Luke. What's funny is, like, even the MexPro management, when they were telling me that they were bringing in Luke, I was like, oh yeah, Luke, dude, Luke and I got a little feud we had in CZW, and they're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, I know Luke pretty well. I brought Luke into CZW, and what a lot of people don't know is, or maybe they do know, because I've said it in other interviews, Luke, he got his start in XPW as Altar Boy Luke. Well, in XPW, even though I was, named the Messiah, I was originally supposed to be part of a tag team called the Moral Crusaders, Luke and Matthew. And I was supposed to be Luke, but they could never find anybody for my tag team partner. So they put me under that stupid blue mask, and gave me the name Lunatic and let me job out some Nicole Bass, chokeslamming me on my head every friggin' night. And finally I just went to management and said, let me do the tag team as a singles, and then once we get someone we can fit into it, then you got your Moral Crusaders tag team, but I can get it started at least. So as far as I knew, I was supposed to be Luke, the Moral Crusader. That's not how it played out. I ended up becoming Messiah. But then a couple of years later, they basically rehashed it, or they, not necessarily rehashed it, but they repackaged it, the tag team, and it's now the Altar Boys, Luke and Matthew. So Luke Hawx essentially took what was supposed to be my gimmick. Now, he has gone above and beyond being Luke, Altar Boy Luke. I mean, the guy is doing phenomenal things. He's got Wildcats, pro wrestling down in New Orleans. The guy's doing, great things for himself. So, but yeah, I brought him into CZW, and we had a nice little feud there. So to bring it back on the West Coast in front of like old XPW fans who maybe know the story between he and I, as far as like, he was Luke, Altar Boy Luke, what I was supposed to be. I think it plays out well. I think it's good. And, I think Luke is a good worker. So, I mean, I'd love to actually get in the ring with him and wrestle him. So hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah, definitely. Before I pass to Chris, I just want to let our listeners know, check out MexPro, November 2nd, Bleed in Los Angeles. If you were like a fan back in the XPW days, and if you enjoyed all that stuff they did back in the days, you will like MexPro. So check them out. Maybe you can follow all MexPro at Twitter and or on Facebook. You can also find it for tickets information. So definitely, I recommend you guys go to a show. Messiah, we have a guest caller call in right now. Wait a minute, I don't think it's probably a guest caller, but hold on a second. 323 area code number. You're live on WrestlingHeads Radio.
What's going on, guys? It's Skip.
Oh, Skip. What's going on, Skip?
How you doing?
Yeah. Oh, Skip's got Messiah online.
How you doing, Messiah? Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for being on the show. I'm actually one of the hosts on here. I couldn't be on the show, so I was actually called in to listen. I'm here on my break at work. But,
good, nice, man.
Well, yeah, thanks for being on the show again.
You got any questions?
I actually didn't have no questions lined up here, but
any questions from?
If I can think of a freestyle answer, in MexPro, out of all the guys on the roster, who do you have the most charisma with?
The most charisma with, I think, something I don't know if it, because there's a lot of new guys in the locker room that I haven't met. But there's a lot of guys in the locker room that, after watching, seeing them work, it's like, no, I can look at him and go, dude, no, I can do something special with this guy, or I can, I'd like to work this guy. Famous B, that was the first time I ever worked Famous B. And, my game plan when I wrestled Famous B was to toughen him up. Was, to throw a punch. I was just going to brawl with him. I wasn't going to try to wrestle him. I wasn't going to do any high flying, dude. I was just, let's brawl, let's do it, And, no, he was a tough kid. For every chop I gave him, he gave it back to me. He, even though you couldn't see because I was wearing my pants, but he kicked the shit out of my leg, man. It was all black and blue. So he gave it right back to me. And that's what I like. I like it. If I'm giving it to you, give it back to me. You don't have to be friggin', soft on me. The way I was taught was to be stiff. Or to be snug rather. But even like Chaos, he and I were supposed to work in MexPro, and whatever happened with that situation, hopefully it still happens, man, because I know I got good chemistry with Chaos. I got good chemistry with Supreme, but that match has been done a couple times already. So there's a lot of new guys on the roster that I'd like to wrestle. B-Boy was on the roster, and I had a couple great matches with B-Boy, in CZW. I think if we did it on the, here on the West Coast, people would enjoy it. So,
that sounds good to me. I'll buy a ticket.
Yeah, no, it's, as long as, I'll wrestle anybody. I've never been one of those guys who's like, no, I'm not going to wrestle that guy, or I'll only do this with this guy. It's like, dude, whoever you want me to wrestle, let's do it. Let's have fun. Put on a good match. Neither one of us will get hurt, and let's just go out there and have fun. That's my motto. So anybody in the MexPro locker room, I'd like to work.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to tell you, Messiah, that MexPro belt, it looks 10 times better than the WWE title. That's a real nice-looking belt. I'm like, wow.
The belt, dude, what's funny is, that belt weighs, legitimately weighs, 15 pounds. It's heavy, man.
Well, it's a nice-looking belt. For our listeners, if you guys haven't seen how the belt looks, you got to check it out. It's a really nice-looking belt. But if anything, let's go with Chris. We've been holding up Chris for a while, so go ahead, Chris.
All right. And there are many stories that have been discussed regarding XPW and ECW, most notable the incident at the ECW arena. My question is, how intense was the rivalry between the two promotions behind the scenes? Day to day. How?
It wasn't. When everything was going down, it was just funny because when I first worked my first match in CZW, and the God's honest truth is, I didn't know anything about CZW while I was in XPW. The only thing I knew about was that they were a company who did death matches, and I would see them in the same magazines that XPW was in. That's all I knew. And when I got to CZW, after my match with Justice Payne, that first match I had, I remember I was leaving, and Trent Acid came up to me, and he was like, "Oh, good match." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. Thank you very much." And he goes, "So, what do they say, in XPW about CZW? They talking shit?" I'm like, "No, they're not saying anything. We didn't know anything. The only thing that was ever mentioned about CZW was, I think it was after the tournament or the second deathmatch tournament where Supreme took that big bump off the ladder at Birmingham High School, and Rob Black and I were just standing around after the show, and Rob looked at me and he went, can you imagine doing this kind of show every show? I was like, hell no, this is nuts. He goes, and all he said was, CZW does this every show. That was the only thing that was ever said about CZW. Now, fast forward to, all the drama that was happening, surrounding the ECW arena and XPW coming in to Philly. It was one of these things that XPW came in and in typical Rob Black fashion, it's like, instead of like coming in there, with your hand out saying, hey, we want to come here and be part of the scene, it's, kick the door in and just let everybody know I'm here to take over. Well, that's Philly. You don't, it's not going to work, dude. And XPW made the very big mistake of assuming that Philly fans, New York fans, New Jersey, Delaware, whatever, would flock back to the ECW arena because there's ECW stars or old ECW stars in XPW. And that wasn't the case, and it's no disrespect to anybody, the ECW guys. It was just everybody had seen them already. Those fans wanted new guys. They wanted, new talent. I'll never forget CZW worked, we did Cage of Death 4. The main event was Justice Payne and I. And we sold out the ECW arena. I mean, sold it out, standing room only. I believe the following week or, 2 weeks later, XPW came in and ran the ECW arena, drew 250 people.
I recall that. Absolutely remember that.
And they had all these ECW guys. They had Jerry Lynn, Danny Doring, like all these guys. And again, it's no disrespect to those guys, but, they didn't want it. And I don't think it wasn't so much they didn't want the ECW guys. They didn't want XPW because, all the shenanigans like that Rob was doing. Buying the ECW arena, all of a sudden it was, no one else could run there. And I'll never forget, I got a phone call from Zandig at like 6:30 in the morning. And he wakes me up and he's just like, hey, your boy bought the ECW or is leasing out the ECW arena. I'm like, my boy, who are you talking about? He goes, Rob Black. I said, he is? He said, John, Zandig then basically said, okay, you told me he has money, but not that kind of money, because I used to work in the XPW office. Dude, on a weekly basis, Rob Black was running around there trying to find money to pay his vendors, okay? So I knew that XPW didn't have, millions of dollars or money just lying around. They never had that. That's not even though people thought that was the case. And I told Zandig right then and there, I said, dude, if he's leasing out and I think Zandig told me how much it was they had put down, because essentially XPW gave the ECW arena like this balloon payment up front of how much dollars, I don't know, like $6,000, $10,000, whatever it was. And essentially in the lease that they agreed to, if XPW missed one payment or was late on one payment every month, the ECW arena could just kick them out and take that balloon payment. And from what Zandig told me, the owners were like, we couldn't pass up the fact that they were going to give us this balloon payment. We just couldn't do that. Our hope is that they're going to miss a payment and we can kick them out and keep that balloon payment. And that's exactly what happened. And I told Zandig, I said, dude, if they're doing that, it's not going to last very long. They don't have that kind of money. They don't have that kind of money to sustain that. Because the plan from XPW was to like rent it out to do concerts and things like that. Yeah. But they weren't allowed to do that. It wasn't zoned to do that. So their big plan to actually make money while they weren't running the venue or putting on wrestling shows wasn't going to work. I mean, it was ridiculous. I think everybody knew that it couldn't last. The only thing that really pissed me off coming out of that situation was that all of a sudden the boys who wrestled in XPW, and I'm not talking about like the ECW guys. I'm talking about guys like Supreme and Chaos, and Angel. When they wrestled there, all of a sudden, like XPW, like when you would say that guy from XPW, it was like a dirty word. automatically people would say, XPW, oh, that place sucked. That guy sucked because he's an XPW. And it was
they had a stigma attached to him, basically.
It just had this stigma attached to it, and it really pissed me off because it was unfair, because that stigma wasn't about the guys, it was about the management. I mean, now I think, it's off, like, especially like Chaos. Chaos reinvented himself, Voodoo, like, he had to reinvent himself. He couldn't be the Rock superstar anymore, because of the fact of, oh, that was that guy from XPW. It was like a dirty word. And it was bullshit, dude. It was complete and utter bullshit that happened to some of those guys, because it wasn't their fault. It was the management.
Yeah, and Chaos is ridiculously talented.
Oh, and dude, he is. I know I was the one that got pushed in XPW. I was the one that, was feuding with Sabu and everything. But I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it. Dude, Chaos is way better than me. He was just. He should have been in WWE. He should be in WWE. He is legitimately that good.
I agree.
But I mean, it is what it is. But it's still just, when that whole thing happened, it was cool to, because, CZW showed up at Ring of Honor, on one show, to support Ring of Honor. Like all the other, that group of promotions were supporting one another against XPW, which XPW never thought was going to happen. And what does XPW do? They think by, luring guys away from other promotions like Justice Pain and Josh Prohibition and M-Dog 20, like those guys out of CZW. Myself knowing full well that they're going to get screwed. When Justice Pain left, or when we found out Justice Pain left, dude, I called Justice Pain. I left a message. And I wasn't mad at him or anything. Dude, I'm never going to begrudge anybody trying to make money. Never. Dude, if this guy's going to pay you money, you get paid. But like when I called Justice Pain, I left a message saying, dude, have fun, make sure, you get paid in cash, or if you get a check, you cash it right away, and watch your back. He never called me back, and lo and behold, he shows up back in CZW whenever, and he came up to me apologizing, like, dude, I got your message. I did get your message, and, dude, I just couldn't call you. I couldn't, I just couldn't call you. It was just awkward. And I got an email from Josh Prohibition. He for some reason he felt he had to explain to me why he was going to XPW, and he didn't have to do that. None of those guys had to do that. I take great pride in the fact, in my career, I've never blackballed anybody. I've never said don't use this guy. People are going to make it on their own merit, as far as I'm concerned. Now I've had that done to me. People have tried to blackball me. People have tried to say, oh, well, if you use Messiah, then you can't use this guy. Dude, I mean, it is what it is, but, obviously, XPW folded, CDW is still running to this day, Ring of Honor is still running, so, there you
go.
Look how good, it worked out for everyone else, so, whatever.
What you just said explained us how you said that people with merit, rise to the top. The cream rises to the top. You just said it right there. They went down and the others went up because they stuck together, and I agree.
It wasn't even so much about like cream rising to the top. It was just XPW, and it's no secret. XPW as a company never made one friggin' nickel. Never made a nickel. Because I can remember, when I first started in XPW, and we'd have these weekly meetings about the show or whatever, and Rob would act like, we only lost $3,000 on this show. It's not, and he would act like it's not a big deal. Well, that stuff starts to add up. Flying at Abdul the Butcher and renting out the sports arena, which even though I think back then was fairly cheap anyway. It was just there was one show that it was the show that Supreme got burnt on. When all that chaos, all that commotion was going on when he got burnt. The guy or the owner of the Grand Olympic Auditorium took the gate money home. Like he wasn't sticking around. He was just he wanted to get out of there. And they were planning on paying some of the guys with that gate money. And I'll never forget Kevin Kleinrock, or I think it was Lizzie Borden. She came up to me. She's like, "How much money do you have on you?" I was like, "Got $40. Why?" She's like, "Can you go to the ATM?" I'm like, "What?" Dude, me and Kevin Kleinrock are in 7-Eleven going to the ATM taking out money to pay like Steve Rosano and Vic Grimes and those guys. And Rob thought it was funny when I asked, when he did pay me back, because he did pay me back. He paid me, I think it was like $250 or something like that. He paid me back all in singles.
Wow.
It was just because that's the way he was. He was like, a dickhead like that. But it was little things like that, that you could see the writings on the wall, and then, when they got busted, for the federal beef or whatever it was, it was time to throw in the towel. Now, from what I've been told, or at least, I don't know if it's happening or not, but, like, Rob's back trying to say he's going to run a show on a Halloween or something like that. Or XPW's coming back on Halloween. Like,
Oscar,
whatever.
Oscar actually was talking about that, what was a couple of weeks ago that, I don't know, go into that, Oscar. I forget what you go into it. Did you hear anything about that?
About what again? Oh, about that rumor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was going to get to that, but I let him finish, though. I was going to get to that.
Oh, no, I know. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that Rob Black looks like a crackhead now. He's like 160 pounds. That's all I know. Like, dude, if he's going to run XPW, like, all I know is, like, I think it was Marvin, Mr. California. Nice kid, but, totally wants to be part of, I can remember that kid. I'm sure he's going to cream his jeans that I just mentioned his name right now. But he wanted to, dude. He was part of the ring crew at XPW. He went to the school there.
Yeah.
He wanted to be Supreme. He wanted to be me. He wanted to be Chaos. And the kid. I'll give a pat on that. He wrestles. He does his own thing. He has his own fed. Good for him. But I guess from what I forgot who told me, like, as soon as it was announced that Rob was bringing back XPW, because Rob did some kind of radio show or something, Marvin was on the phone with him because Rob being Rob, rather than go and look for talent, it's like, call him. You want to be a star, call him. It's like, whatever. Dude, run your show. Have fun.
Yeah.
Smoke meth or whatever it is you do now.
There's no one been on his radar for all these eons he's been gone that he could bring up. He's just going to familiarity. I totally understand.
And here's the thing too: people know who he is now. People know what he's about. So it's not like when XPW first started. I was brought in by Carlito Montana, my trainer. He brought me into XPW, and then I met up with D and everything. But it was very like, no one knew anything about Rob. No one knew about Extreme Associates. It was just, this porn guy has money and he wants to run a wrestling promotion. And he, the thing was that he had money. Now people know like what he's about. People know who he is and what there's none of that mystery behind like, who's this guy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to wrestle for him, have fun, do it. But yeah, whatever. Halloween is a week and a half away. So all right, if there's a show. No one knows about it, but whatever.
Yeah, and if I'm just saying, it's so predictable of Halloween as well. If you know what I mean, like. I don't know.
Well, like Chaos and Supreme, they're running a show, the Santino brothers.
Yeah,
man.
Santino.
They got a stacked
Santino's
show. If anybody wants to check out a show on Halloween, dude, go check out that.
I was just about to say that
for a while.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to go into the Santino's running on Halloween, so good luck promoting it when you have great Chaos and, like you mentioned earlier, doing Santino. So hey, good luck.
Yeah.
All right, hey, I could go on forever. Go ahead. You better cut me off.
Yeah, no, he answered my next question about. I was going to ask him about that XPW rumor, that return thing. It's just I just first heard that rumor at the last MexPro show which he won the world title. After the show, I met up with some people and they said, Rob Black is bringing back XPW, and I'm like, bullshit. But he's like, no, bullshit. Check out SoCalUncensored.com. You can see XPW coming back, blah, blah, blah. Then I also heard he needs talent to do it. They have the venue. But my question to you
it's ridiculous. I know that. I was told that he showed up to a Santino Brothers show. You know, so I don't know if he talked to Chaos or whatever, or did anything. But at the same time, like, you know, a guy like Rob and those guys, it's, you know, bad publicity is still good publicity. The fact that, you know, we're talking about this right now, dude, like I said, that was the whole point.
Yep.
You know, whether the show runs or not, which obviously it's not, the whole point was to get people talking about it, and played right into his hands right now. You know?
Yeah.
So that's all it was about. You know, it's just to get that rumor mill going again. To get people asking, hey, are you running XPW again? You know, and to have people ask me in Supreme and Chaos or an Angel or whatever. You know, the guy, you know, hey, you heard anything about that? Because, dude, as soon as that was announced or whatever, dude, all these people on Facebook started asking me. I have no idea what the hell's going on. I would be the last person that would be part of it. So, you know, the whole point was to get people talking about it, and it worked.
All right, okay. So, just in case, the same people that are telling me that all this XPW rumors, like the same people that could be listening right now, can you tell them right now and say, if this XPW rumor is going to happen, like, can you say something like, if it's going to happen or not? Like, don't listen to rumors.
I don't, dude, I know probably less than you do. I mean, the people that I would speak to about it, they know nothing about it. It's basically, you know, Rob said he's going to run XPW or bring back XPW on Halloween, and that was it. And as far as I know, I mean, there's no show going on, and in fact, that was the only thing that was ever announced was that one thing. And like I said, the whole point, like, you know, Rob's not even though he comes off like a friggin' retard, he's not a retard. He's a pretty, he knows, and I'm sorry, no disrespect, you know, to retards or anything, like being politically correct here. But like he knows what to throw out there. He knows what kind of whatever, you know, bullshit, what to think, just to throw out there and to see, you know, it's all about throwing crap against the wall and seeing what sticks. And dude, like I said, the whole point was to get people talking about it. And look what we're doing. So we played right into his hands. Whether or not there's ever going to be another XPW thing, or if he is going to do XPW, it was all about getting people to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he's doing a good job because it's coming from LA to Pittsburgh, so I guess we can have applause to Rob Black here. Give him applause. All right.
I'll give him one when he does more. You know, if he does more than just one show, then I'm not even knowing applause yet.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
I think since deserve it. And I want to go back to, and you seem really fond of this promotion, of CZW again. I just want to go back but unfortunate. There's bad stuff and horrible stuff that happens in professional wrestling, and his name came up a lot during this interview. And one of my personal favorites, and I feel he had a real chance to be great, was Trent Acid. Is there any comments on him? Did you know him? Where could he have gone in the business?
Trent, dude, I love Trent. He you know, I said it when like I found out Trent passed away. I think I forgot what I was doing, but it was like literally like I think I went on Facebook and I saw a post B-Boy put up, and no bullshit, like I fell to my knees. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah. There's no way this can be true. And then I called up Johnny Cashmere, and he confirmed it. And Ian Knox then called me, and I mean, then my phone was blowing up. Everybody was calling to let me know. You know, he that kid was super talented. Like Zandig loved him. And in fact, what was it? When Johnny Cashmere and Trent left CZW, not on the best of terms with John Zandig. And I believe it was around Cage of Death 6, think it was at 6. I wrestled Chaos and Adam Flash in a 3-way scaffold match thing. But the original plan was to have me and Trent wrestle and have Trent go over for the CZW World Heavyweight title. And of course, it didn't happen that way because Johnny and Trent left. But he when he went to because Trent went to jail. Everybody knew that. Yeah, he went to jail. And when I say went to jail, it wasn't like he was there for 2 nights, dude. He was there for months and months and months.
Yes.
And I sent him a letter, and in the letter, I had just gotten married, and my wife, had these, all these wedding photo things, and Trent should have been at the wedding. Adam Flash was at the wedding, Wife Beater was at the wedding, Ian Knox, Supreme was there. Trent and Johnny should have been there, but I hadn't spoken to them in a while. But I put the wedding photo in there, and Shaylee, my 12-year-old daughter, who was then 6, made this nice picture for Trent and everything, and I sent it off to him. Fast forward to, I think, PWU. I see Trent in PWU, and
yes.
Trent comes up to me and he just gives me a big hug, and he's like, "Dude, your letter, dude, thank you so much for your letter." And come to find out, after he passed away, Missy Sampson, one of Trent's best friends, told me that they were packing Trent's stuff, and Trent, there was something in the boxes, and as they're leaving, Trent goes, wait, and he goes over and pulls the photo that my daughter made for him, and he put it in this, in this folder for important things, and that's always stuck in my mind that he did that, or that I was told that he did that. He died way too young, but he had demons, and he and I talked about it, but and Trent would have told you, he was his own worst enemy. He really was. But when I was in CZW, I lived with Ian Knox in this house across the street. Johnny Cashmere lived, and Trent was always over there, and we all worked at the same bar. So we were always around one another. When we were doing that high five thing in CZW, dude, it was a real thing. We legitimately hung out with one another. It wasn't like a thing that we just did on a show and then we left. It was, dude, after the show we would go back to the house, watch wrestling videos, of really, really, really horrible matches, and just laugh our ass off, and drink a couple beers, and then the next day we would go to the gym, and then we would go to work at the bar. Dude, we hung out with one another. That's one of the reasons I honestly believe Cage's F5, where we had the scaffold thing and all those thumbtacks and the 2 rings. The reason, and in my opinion, Cage's F5, that's the best Cage of Death. No one's ever going to top that. Everyone involved in that match, we were all best friends then. We all hung around one another, except for New Jack, and it wasn't like Zandig hung out with us, but Zandig was, still part of it. But B-Boy was always over at the house, instead of just coming in for a show, B-Boy would stay for 2 weeks. It was, we all hung around one another. We were all, we were all friends, and that's one of the reasons that match came off the way it did. But that was some of the best times of my life being with Trent. He's the funniest guy in the world, man.
Yeah.
I met him to death. He and Chris Cash and Dynamite Deep, those guys, it's Trent.
Upsetting.
Trent had Trent not, had to deal with his demons and everything, he would have been in WWE. He totally would have.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. Trent was one of these guys too that we'd walk in a locker room and there'd be an ex-WWE guy like Shelton Benjamin or something like that, and dude, they knew Trent. They'd go up to Trent and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Dude, Trent, he knew everybody. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, he was loved.
Yeah, so it was.
I met him.
Yeah,
I met him a few times, and he was so over, and he was so liked by fans and wrestlers. I remember just talking to him, and when I met him out one time out of the arena, And we didn't talk wrestling. He noticed I had a Pearl Jam shirt on, and he was a humongous Pearl Jam fan for 30 straight minutes.
Pearl Jam, yeah.
And it was like insane because I've seen him like 40-something times, and holy shit, when I told him that, he went on, and told me all this stuff. It was like, holy shit. He was one of the nicest dudes ever, man. And it's just upsetting that, that kid's gone.
Yeah, no, he loved Pearl Jam. He was a super, he was a really good dude. He really was.
Yeah.
He and Johnny Kashmir and those guys, like, they, when I started in CZW, like, keep in mind, dude, I started in CZW. I was the West Coast guy from that porno company. That really is. I mean, when you break it down to its bare bones, that's what it was. And I had to earn their respect, just like I had to earn the fans' respect in Philly. Those guys didn't have to like bring me into their inner circle and be cool with me and everything. But when I showed up, the first thing I did was shake everybody's hands. I showed respect. That wasn't my house. I'm a guest there, and that's how it should be done. A lot of guys don't do that now. They're not properly, trained in the etiquette of pro wrestling. Maybe the mat work, but not the etiquette. And they could see, I guess, that I wasn't going in there trying to be a big shot and stick out my chest and hey, I'm better than you guys. Like, I came in there humble, wanting to learn, because to be honest with you, when I saw Cages at 3 the night before I debuted in CZW, dude, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. These guys were doing stuff that it was unbelievable. And the great thing about being like in the high five with like Trent and Johnny, like all of a sudden that instantly like gave me credibility with like the chicks, because the chicks used to put down or girls used to put money in their pants. So like I'd walk out to the ring and they would put like $5 down my pants, or I'm like, what the hell? It was because I was with them.
That song, I loved it. It was the Midnight Express song. The theme song was the best. I love that.
Yeah, no, it was like, and that was the thing. Like both Trent and Johnny, dude. Like Trent, like Johnny would he'll admit it to you. Like, maybe he's not the best singles wrestler, but like when it came to tag team wrestling, dude, he knew it down pat. Like he knew the psychology of it. Like he was spot on with everything. And like that's the other thing. Like, dude, Trent and Johnny, as the Backseat Boys, like they came up with some tag maneuvers that people like friggin' stole straight up. I'll never forget. I worked a show out here in LA, and it was me and Frank Kazarian versus Hardcore Kid and someone else. I can't remember who it was. But Frankie goes, hey, I got this move we can do. And essentially what it was if I remember right, it was we send the guy off the ropes, and then we both do a double hip toss. But we catch the guy and then throw him up in the air. Then I go in for a power bomb. He goes in for a neck breaker. And I looked and said, that's the Backseat move.
Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah. The Backseat Boys did that move. Like, dude, everybody was stealing their thing. It was both of those guys should have been in WWE. I miss Trent, a lot. And Johnny, all those guys, man. It was a good time back then.
Yeah, he had it. Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say. He had it, and then sure, it's sad as hell. Hopefully it's someday, All right, sure. I'm getting sad here.
It's all right.
But the thing is, we're reminiscing about. The thing is, we're reminiscing about great talent. Anyone go out there and look up his stuff. He's amazing. Good.
Yeah. Before I ask him a question, I just want to let our listeners know. We're not going to have Messiah on not too long, so if you guys have any questions, it's kind of like your last chance. But here's the number, 760-454-1107, or you could tweet me at Sinister632, or tweet us at WrestlingHeads, because we're not going to have him on not too long. My next question I want to ask you is that I know earlier you're kind of like a little trashing XPW, but I want to ask you,
no,
like,
I
let's
wasn't
just say
trashing
that.
Don't
Well, about the Rob
don't throw
Black
me under
thing,
the bus
but...
like that, man.
No, but I just want to say that, let's just say, like, all that bullshit didn't happen, like, when you got fired or all that stuff that have XPW moving to Philly, if all that never happened and it was still around today, how can you envision that XPW doing today?
I don't know. I mean, I think, Greta, you said, I was trashing XPW, and if that's the way you took it, that's the way you took it. I mean, I don't mean to come off like I'm trashing them.
No.
The management, yeah, they can kiss my ass, but the boys, like, I love the boys. The XPW had tremendous talent in it. It was just run very poorly, which, I mean, do you hear about indie companies all the time being run poorly? So, I mean, it's not like it's anything new. But if XPW was around today, the problem that XPW ran into, and again, I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to trash Rob Black. If anything, this is more of a compliment. When they envisioned XPW, he wanted ECW right off the bat. He wanted that. And keep in mind, like, ECW didn't become ECW for years. Like, they were in, wrestling in front of 30 people and 5 people. Like, it took time to become ECW, like this huge new thing. And XPW, like, it in the management's eyes, it was supposed to be that right off the bat. And it just, the one thing about running out here in LA, it's not like how it is back in Philly. Like, you can find, like, buildings to run in. Out here, it's hard to find, like, a good venue that's not like a VFW, or a small little, like, warehouse. That's why XPW was running, like, the LA Sports Arena, the Grand Olympic Auditorium, because it was envisioned to be the number 4 company in the world, behind WWE, WCW, then ECW. What's funny is, like, the motto, even though the unofficial motto for XPW was, like, last stop XPW, meaning, like, you got kicked out of WWE, got kicked out of WCW, got kicked out of ECW. Hey, last stop XPW. Like, we'll take you, and it was a good plan in thought. Like, we used to talk about it all the time. Like, XPW used to run commercials, whether it be commercials on TV or even radio ads. Dude, people wouldn't show up to the show. It was people out here on the West Coast are different than people on the East Coast. It just, we used to scratch our heads going, dude, why aren't there more people here, kind of thing. And really, when you think about it, even something like ECW, it was a word of mouth thing. It just built. It was a slow burn. And the management in XPW didn't have any patience for a slow burn. They wanted, a raging inferno right then and there. They wanted, like, sold out arenas. And they didn't have the patience. To be honest with you, if XPW was around today, I don't think it really would be around today because of that mentality of, we need to be big now, we need to be big now. But play devil's advocate. If it was around now, I think it would be, something, maybe something like a Ring of Honor, just on a small channel. Because keep in mind, like, back when XPW was running, like I said before, no one had DVDs in Best Buy, but now you got YouTube. Anybody can. You got Smart Market Video. You got RF Video. You got web streaming. Now you can you can stream your event live on iPay-per-view. I mean, there's all these things you can do. And dude, the smallest of indie companies are doing that. Dude, so it's a complete 10 years ago, dude. I mean, granted, it was 10 years ago. It's not 10 years. Really isn't that long. So many things have changed. The whole game has changed.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the whole world. The whole world,
I mean,
in general.
Like that's why I mean, you can't. Granted, my daughter's 11 years old. She has an iPhone, but it's like I'm always telling her, don't do anything stupid. I mean, don't. When it's out there in the world forever. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just people. It's a different world now, where people get information instantly, right then and there on their phones. It's you hear about so and so, halfway around the world, 5 minutes after it happens. It's different. It's completely different. So I mean, that's why I don't think XPW would be around today, unfortunately. Then
Yeah, I mean, back in those days when you guys were running the show, I mean, I was in high school, and I was trying to hopefully one day my parents will give me money to go to a show. But unfortunately, you're a parent yourself, you understand, no, it's no. And at that time, I was still in high school. I couldn't, make decisions for myself, so really couldn't do nothing about it. I had to wait till I'm 18, but unfortunately, XPW folded all before I hit 18, so, yeah. But I always got next.
The thing about XPW, though, and the problem that it came into was that it didn't have a home base. You needed a home base in order to build up that home crowd. So we were moving all the time to different venues. Yeah. But like we ran that high school, Birmingham High School. Dude, that place was awesome. We packed that place. Dude, it was great. But then the PTA or something like that, or the school management was like, yeah, as much as we like taking your guys' money, we can't be condoning you guys, hitting each other with light tubes and everything and letting our students watch it. Even granted, it's on a weekend, Saturday night. So we got booted out of there. XPW would have been a completely different company if I believe if we were at the time were able to get like a home base where you could see us here every Friday or every Saturday kind of thing. You need that, and that's what the ECW arena was supposed to provide them out there. And it's what the ECW arena did provide for CZW for years and years and years, was a home base.
Became the Mecca for a while there,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, you're just bringing up a lot of memories, man. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I'm going to switch gears. I mean, I'm going to go into present time and see what wrestler have you saw in the last 6 months to a year now today that has blown you away, that is a trendsetter today? I mean, is there a guy or woman?
To be honest with you, I don't watch as much as I would like to. Even something like CZW, dude, I don't know anybody in CZW right now. I mean, if my thing, and granted, I might sound like an old fogey right now. A lot of the guys wrestling today, they all look the same. They all look the same. Not like I have this great look by any means, especially now. Dude, I'm a freaking father of two, and I work a 50-hour work week. So it's not like I'm coming into the wrestling ring looking like I should be, because I honestly believe look the part. Anytime I've taken part in any wrestling school things, like over at Santino Brothers or whatever, the way I was taught was look the part. If you're going to be a pro wrestler, look like a pro wrestler. Like go to the gym, just look, and unfortunately, I'm speaking for myself. I don't look the way I want to look, but nowadays, everyone looks the same because now everybody can go get tights. Like when I started, dude, I had no idea where to get boots. I had no idea where to get tights. Like I said, there wasn't Google back then. You couldn't hey, I can get a pair of tights from this guy. All right, you can get a high spot
now. You get a high spot now. You can go to everywhere now.
Exactly. I mean, that's why everybody has gear and everything now, and everyone looks the same to me. It's really just about it's very hard to distinguish yourself outside or make yourself look different in professional wrestling to begin with, let alone now. Because I think a lot of guys are in it now, but a lot of guys, they got, they're stacked, good bodies and everything. They got their little trunks on. They got their fancy little kick pads. For some reason, all of a sudden, like, wrestling boots were like, no. Everyone was wearing kick pads at one point. Yeah. Everyone was. It was just like, okay, So it's just like Famous B. I didn't know that much about Famous B until I really wrestled him, and like I said, the kid impressed me. And I know he was capable of doing so much more with me in that match. But he wrestled my kind of match, the kind of match I wanted to wrestle, the kind of match that the MexPro management wanted me to give him. They wanted me to toughen him up. We knew, hey, we know you can mat wrestle. We know you can do the high flying. But let's see if you can take a beating. And granted, I didn't give him that much of a beating, but every little punch I gave him, he gave back to me. Like that. That's what I like. Get in there with me. Supreme and I, dude, we had some battles. He would throw some friggin' potatoes at me, and I'd throw them back at him. It just, it was you build like a relationship or a bond that way. It's weird. It's hard to explain. But like,
totally understand.
As far as guys that impress me today, you know what impressed me, and I like, even though, as much as for some reason I'm as much as I'm attached to deathmatch wrestling, like people know me for that. And dude, forgive me, it was MexPro was Carnage versus I can't remember the kid's name now, unfortunately. I feel horrible now. But if you guys, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. The match that they had was great. The death match they had, because they were teasing everything. It wasn't like, all right, I just throw you into this, I throw you into that. Dude, they were teasing spots, and that's what I like. I like it when, and it doesn't even have to be, a death match, but just, I'm expecting one thing, and then, out of the corner of my eye, something else happens. You set up a table on the outside, but you don't touch it for 5 minutes, so everyone forgets about this table, and then all of a sudden a spot happens and the guy goes through it. It's like, that's what I like. That's what I like. Yeah. The death match I had with Sick Nick Mondo in Epic, and even in TDW, dude. If you like, dude, everything's set up where it's like, everything has beats, and like teasing things. That's the way it should be. Like,
Yeah.
And a lot of guys today.
That's the wrestling MO. That's, don't give it all. Don't give it all. Give some.
Yeah. And what's funny is, and I remember, I can remember Sabu and Tracy Smothers and Chris Candido telling me, hey kid, you're really good, but don't do everything. Don't go out there and do everything. Or hey, there's only 10 people in the crowd tonight, so let's keep it down a notch. And my mentality, being the young kid, is screw that. I'm going to go out there and bust my ass. Now I understand what they were trying to tell me. It's like people, Sabu used to say it, and even New Jack used to say, people, they expect certain things out of them. People want me to, do the triple jump moonsault. Sabu do the triple jump moonsault, and it's like, you tease it. You don't give them everything all at once. They come in, granted, it's like an old school mentality of wrestling, but I completely understand it now. Completely understand what they were trying to tell us. Because back then we were like, dude, these freaking guys, man, dude, they're only here for a paycheck, which they probably really were. But it's like, dude, they're not going to give their all. They're admitting that they're not going to give everything. But now I understand what they were saying. I completely understand it.
Yeah, definitely. Messiah, we have a caller is calling in. You want to take a call?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. 323 area code. You're live on WrestlingHeads Radio.
Yeah, what's up, you guys? Just right here, I'm the Mysterious Mexican, and I just want to say that I'm a real big fan of yours, and I grew up watching XPW, ECW, all the hardcore matches, that got my attention, a lot. And I just want to say I appreciate you putting great matches for the fans and, like, putting your body on line and all the hardcore matches you went through, the barbed wire, like getting thrown to tags and all that. That was real entertaining, And I appreciate you, like, entertaining us, and putting your body through all that stuff for us, like that. That really meant a lot, like, I really understand, like you try to put a great show for the people and everything, and I understand, like, after the matches and all that stuff, like, I know how you feel and everything, how your body might feel, all the, like, cuts, your face to be busted open and this stuff, and I feel like, man, these guys, like, I always wanted to be like that too. If I was a wrestler, I would have been a hardcore wrestler too, like that. And I don't know. I just think it's great what you did. It was great times in XPW watching you, man. That's one of the reasons I watch it because of you. I used to love your gimmick and all this stuff. I don't know. I just want to say I'm a big fan, and I appreciate how you entertain us.
No, thanks, man. No, thanks. Thank you. I mean, I'm glad I did. That was the goal, to entertain everybody, and I definitely got the scars to prove it. But I'll be the first one to tell anybody, any kid, like, hey, I want to do deathmatch. Like, don't do that, dude. Do something, like, because there really is a limit, as far as, like, what your body can take and what you can do in the business. You really limit yourself as far as, like, oh, that deathmatch guy or this guy. And I mean, I could be wrestling now all the time doing death matches, but I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to, I wasn't taught that. In fact, what's funny is me being I only wanted to do one death match in my whole entire career. It was a case of, I'll never forget watching the first ECW pay-per-view with my trainer Carlito and Ed Ferreira, and I think the main event had, like, it was Stevie Richards and Terry Funk and Raven, like, but they had barbed wire in it, and just in a casual way, it was said, like, oh, it'd be cool to do a death match once, just to say I did it. And then lo and behold, 2 years later, XPW does their first death match, and XPW, we always used to have these Tuesday night meetings where we would train in the ring, and then after we would have, like, a company meeting. Well, we walked in the office, and on this dry erase board, it says XPW, the first XPW tournament or deathmatch tournament. And basically it was a sign-up sheet saying if you want to be in it, you go up there and put your name up there. And so, I put my name up there, and it was legitimately just to say I did it once. And the fact that I went out there with, like, Webb and Supreme and just went balls out and tried to be entertaining and put my body on it, like, all of a sudden it was, let's put Messiah or let's put Billy in these matches because he can really, he's really good at it. Anyway, it was never meant to be, when I envisioned myself being a pro wrestler, it was never meant to be that. And, the fact that I am, dude, I'm perfectly fine with my legacy, if you want to call it that, in pro wrestling. As long as people were entertained, and I went home and wasn't too hurt, dude, I was fine. It was cool. I had a great time in doing it all. So thank you very much for the compliment, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Mysterious,
can I have another question?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask me a question.
Have you ever been asked to wrestle in WWE or WCW at the time?
I never got asked. I was always told that maybe my name came up for, like, a one thing or two. Like, the only when I look back at what I've done in wrestling, like, the only thing I've ever wished that I could have really done really wasn't wrestle in WWE, but wrestle in Japan. And there was a couple times where it could have happened in XPW with FMW, and then CZW. Right when I started with CZW, their relationship with Big Japan Wrestling kind of went south. And then right before I left, like, things started, like, they started negotiating with 01 and everything, and my name came up. And it just never happened. And even with WWE, I remember one time Bubba Ray Dudley or Bully Ray, he was friends with Rob Black, and he would sometimes hang out at the XPW office when he was in town. And this one time he came to the XPW office, and he was a really cool guy. And Rob's like, hey, put on your match with Sabu. and let them see it so you can critique it. Because the other thing, if anybody ever asks any advice about being a pro wrestler or if they're doing it or anything, is just keep an open mind. Like, the only way you get better in the business is wrestling people who are better than you. And this is no disrespect to like guys who've been around forever, but like in XPW, like the great thing was like they brought in guys like Chris Candido and Sabu and Tracy Smothers and Shane Douglas. And if you were smart, you'd try to pick their brain and ask them questions. And that's exactly what I did. And they were willing to give the information to me and let me know how, I can improve and what they thought of this. And it was awesome to get that kind of feedback, because never in a million years when I was watching these guys on TV did I think I'd ever be asking them questions. It was just a great experience. And when Bubba Ray was at the office, he after the match, he watched it and he told me what he thought. He's like, no, it was good. I liked it. He goes, you know who you remind me of? And I was like, who? He goes, Tommy Dreamer. And I just equated that to because I wore the black pants and the black shirt, And the only reason I wore that wasn't to be like Tommy Dreamer. It was because I was a skinny kid. that's why I wore that. It was because I was a skinny kid. That when I first started, I was 166 pounds, and they were trying to hide it. That was the only reason. And of course, when he told me, I took it as a compliment because I have nothing but respect for Tommy Dreamer. But then Bubba Ray jokingly told Rob, he's looking at me and he told Rob, he goes, let the kid go. Let him go. And meaning like, let me get out of XPW kind of thing. And Rob jokingly looked at me and he's like, if you leave me, I'll friggin' kill you. I was like, what? And Bubba Ray then says, I looked at Bubba Ray, I'm like, what do you mean, let me go? Like, what do you mean, let the kid go? And he looked at me and he goes, dude, I could get you a developmental contract right now. Really? I'm like, yeah, I could totally get you I could get you signed to a developmental contract right now. Of course, that never happened. I never took it seriously. But in the back of my head, I always wondered, And then when I was in CZW, you would hear little things as far as like, so-and-so's in the crowd and he's looking for talent kind of thing. Other than that, I never had any communications with WWE or anything like that. But like guys like Chaos and Luke Hawx, those guys have worked for WWE, and I could be nothing more than, completely proud of those guys for accomplishing those goals.
Yeah, definitely. Mysterious, before I let you go, I know you're like a big fan of XPW, but have you ever been to a MexPro show?
No, but I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And Messiah, have you ever saw in the LA area or anywhere around right here in Cali? I'm sure I'll go and check it out.
Yeah, man. No, check out MexPro. Like it's a good fit with good talent, and if you like XPW, that's great. But MexPro, it's definitely its own thing. But if they do they got the death match wrestling, they got the high flying, they got everything, man. So yeah, check it out, dude. I'm really proud to be part of that company.
I'll be there. I'll check it out.
Definitely, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Thanks, Mysterious, for calling. All right, thanks, Mysterious, for calling in. All right. All right, take care, man.
Bye.
All right, then we also got one of our co-hosts just called in, Bruce. Is that you, Bruce?
Yeah, that's me.
What's up, man? We got Messiah on here.
I know, I'm kind of like stuck in worship mode right now, so you're going to have to give me a little bit. Dude, I'm like...
you got any questions?
No, really,
to be honest, like, here's the thing you guys got to understand, is that when I get off the phone with you guys, I'm literally going to go back in my house and probably change a shit-filled diaper. And so when I go in there and say, hey, this guy just told, he's in worship mode, they don't give a crap. My wife and my kids. So to hear it is it's very humbling, and thank you very much for saying things like that. But
I mean,
yeah, it's such a different. It's just so different from my life.
When there was XPW and ECW going on at the time, I worshiped the ground you walk on. And then I dropped out of the scene for a little bit, and then I came back, and I was, like, looking you up online. I'm like, man, whatever happened to this guy? Still doing this thing, chugged along, and I was glad and happy to hear that you're still stuck with it. And I was just kind of, like, stuck in, total nostalgia mode. And, I was like, I told myself, if there was anyone, because, like, I'm religious, and I'm like, if there's anyone who I wanted to follow or emulate, it would be a guy that has the name of Messiah. And I was like, that's just fucking amazing. Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't get starstruck. I really don't. And even though I've never had a chance to, like, meet you in person, just based on you, your performances, the character, what you do to yourself, like when you put on a show, I don't know, it just hit me in a way that, and the guys will tell you, I talk my ass off to anyone that I meet over at the show, but, I think I've studied you more online than I think anyone else that I've ever had interest in, and I think that's just because I've never had the ability to meet you in person. And, I'm at a loss for words, and the guys will tell you, I'm not usually one of those types of people. I usually don't have a lot of words.
No, man, I completely appreciate it, and like I said, when I go back in the house, I'm gonna change a shit-filled diaper. So, to get this is like, is very humbling, and thank you very much for it. And it's funny because, like, you said follow a guy with the name Messiah. Like, I never picked that name; it was given to me. And God's honest truth, I friggin' hate the name. Like, I hate it because of the religious connotation to it. But, no one's going to pay money to watch Billy Welch wrestle. If they're going to pay to see a guy named, hey, Messiah, okay, I'll check out a guy like that. Okay, cool. But, it's, I would always get asked, like, do you still wrestle? And, I don't wrestle as much as I could. Basically, like, I chose a different path as far as being a family guy. If you look at Facebook, anything, I just post pics of my kids. I totally and I think it comes from my experience in XPW. Like, when we were in XPW, people thought like we were making all this money. I mean, the wrestlers, guys like Sabu and those guys, they were making the money. But guys like Supreme and Chaos and myself, we weren't making that much, dude. I was living in a garage while I was XPW heavyweight champion. It wasn't like I was making money. And, me leaving the business, I left on my own terms, especially after the whole attack thing that happened. Like, I told everybody wanted me to stop wrestling. Everybody. And it's like, hell no, dude. When I stop, it's going to be because I want to stop. And, not to get mushy on you guys, but, I fell in love, had a daughter. I have two beautiful daughters. And I made the decision because I always heard from these guys, these old-timers, the biggest regret that they had about their wrestling career was that they missed out on, like, birthdays and Christmas and shit like that. And I told myself a long time ago, if I ever had a family and if I was ever, like, I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. And in fact, like, one of the biggest fights I got into, it wasn't even a fight, but argument that I got into with CZW was over the fact of missing a show that I would always, every March was my daughter's birthday, and I always took that show off because I was going to be home. And CZW tried to play it off like I no-showed. And I was like, dude, don't tell the fans I no-showed. Tell them I got injured. Tell them whatever you want, but don't tell them I no-showed. And that's why I jumped to PWU, actually. But, that's a story for another time. But, yeah, like, to hear someone like yourself tell us.
That's kind of sleazy.
What's up? What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was saying that was kind of sleazy on CZW.
It was just, they were just thinking on the fly. Like, I don't have any ill will toward them, but they were just thinking, I can't explain why they did it, or said that, because there was this huge backlash that came back at me. I got all these, how could you no-show? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, no-show? They knew I was going to be at that show forever. But, like I said, whatever. That's a story for another time. But, thank you so much for, saying those kind of things that you said. And, I'm glad you enjoyed everything I did, man. I wish I could have done more. But when I look back at, my legacy of life, it's not going to be what I did in the wrestling ring. It's going to be what I did with my kids. And, like I said, when I go back in that house, dude, they're not going to I'm going to tell them, dude, this guy on the phone said that he worshiped me, and they're going to roll their eyes at me. Like, what? Are you kidding me? So, thank you so much for saying the kind of things that you said.
Just being real, man. Just being real.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna have to move on. You guys have any final questions for Messiah before we let him go?
No, I'm good. I'm just very glad that I got to speak to you, and always been a fan and always will. Thank you.
Thanks, man. If you're ever at a MexPro show, please introduce yourself, man. Love to meet you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, then, Bruce, you got anything else?
I guess I was just looking at maybe your opinion right now of anything that you're looking forward to in the future, whether it be a promotion, whether it be a booker, whether it be someone you'd like to take on, someone who you look forward to seeing in the future, like someone who you consider a rising star that you take interest in. Is there anything that's catching your eye at the moment?
The fact that like Daniel Bryan's doing so well in WWE, that guy really is the salt of the earth. He's the nicest guy in the world. I don't think if you ask anybody in the wrestling business a question about him that you won't hear a bad thing. I did a show with him in Florida. I think it was for NWA Florida, and he and I were on the same flight, and I just picked his brain the whole entire time. And he, like I said, he was the nicest guy in the world. And to see someone like himself, and even like CM Punk, these are guys that I was with. These are guys that I was, in the same locker rooms with. And then to see them, as a WWE champion or a World Heavyweight champion or just being one of the top stars in WWE, that I have a lot of tremendous pride for that, and I can't be, I'm completely happy for those guys because they work their ass off. Even like Samoa Joe in TNA, to see them do so well, brings a lot of pride. And also, I'll be honest with you, there's that what if factor in the back of my head if I had really stuck with it, if I didn't say no to, all these bookings, kind of thing. If I could have matched up or if I could have handled it, I'll never know. But to see those guys do so well, it makes me feel really, really good. And, to see like all these young cats doing their thing, wrestling, gives me a lot of hope for them as far as, making to the WWE. Even like guys like the Young Bucks, those kids, when I first met them, it was like, what the, dude, you guys are going to kill yourself. What are you doing? Like, seriously, there's no psychology. What's wrong with you? But to see them, just come full circle and do as well as they're doing, I take a lot of pride in that, seeing those guys do well. And even guys like Chaos, he has a wrestling school now. He has students. He's passing on the craft. That I think is really, really cool. And I'm glad, I can call a guy like that my friend. And, that's where, if anything, I probably, get my most pride from or what I look at or am most impressed with is the fact that the landscape of something like the WWE is changing now. You don't have to be a 6'6", 270-pound monster in order to get your foot in the door.
Right.
You know, it's about like being a wrestler, and you know, like I said, there's still that would have factor in the back of my head, but to see those guys, to know like those are guys that I've wrestled and have had good matches with. You know, I think I could have handled it. I think I could have done well, but you know, you never know. But yeah, to see that is really cool, I think.
In a way, kind of like how you left your mark in a way?
Well, my biggest thing, I guess, when it comes to my career is I don't want to be known as, oh, that guy who got attacked guy, you know, or the guy who got his thumb cut off guy. That, and maybe that's what I'm known as, or known for. You know, it is what it is. I have no control over it. That's probably what I'm known to the fans, but to the guys that I've wrestled with, to the guys I call my friend, or my friends, you know, I think as long as, you know, I have the respect of them, like, oh, hey, Messiah, no, he's a good worker. He'll take care of you in the ring. He won't hurt you. You know, or, you know, he's a good guy. Like a guy like when we talked about Trent Acid, he would give the shirt off his back for you if you needed it. A guy like Ian Knox in CZW, who's one of my best friends, he would, if you asked him for $10, you know, and he only had $5, he would give you the $5 and then borrow $5 off of someone else to give to you. Like, the fact that I've made friends like that in this business, you know, that's what I take a lot of pride out of. I mean, you know, if I'm known for being the guy who got attacked in his house, blah blah blah, so be it. But to get like a phone call, not a phone call, but to get something like you just said, you know, telling me, you know, you followed me and you had respect, like that's. I'm also one of those guys that I don't need everybody to like me. You know, it's like, you know, if I get 10 nice things and then I get one negative comment, I'm not going to dwell on that one negative comment. You know, a lot of guys do that. It's not about all the nice things. It's about the one negative thing that really pisses them off. I learned a long time ago I cannot make everybody like me. I can't. And I'm not going to go out of my way to make everybody like me. If you like me, that's awesome. I'm not going to go out of my way to piss you off either or try to be a dick. But, you know, as long as I have a reputation of being a guy who took care of you in the ring, could put on a good match, and was just a cool guy outside of the ring as well, you know, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. Messiah, we want to thank you to be a guest on our show. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to tell our listeners? Like, if you have any social media acts, they can check you out or anything?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to check me out, like, I'm on Facebook, you know, Billy Messiah, Instagram, Billy Messiah. Just, you know, I appreciate like all the nice things that people say about me, because, to be honest with you, you know, I don't think of myself in that light. You know, I don't think of myself as being someone who actually made an impact on somebody, or, you know, or being like the fact that I could be someone's favorite wrestler, like that. That's really cool to me, you know. So thank you so much for, you know, having me on the show and for the nice things that you said. And you know, check out MexPro if you're in the California area. I mean, like, definitely check that out. Just support indie wrestling, and yeah, I mean, I'll be seeing you guys down the road, hopefully pretty soon.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to come to a MexPro show now. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for, like I said, thanks for being on, and hopefully we'll have you back in the future. And I'm going to keep going to MexPro. So, Messiah, like I said, thanks again, and have a good night, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, anytime you guys want me on, just let me know, man. All right, have a good one, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.
There he goes. How about that?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Messiah, and I have to say, top 3 guests we had in the show. Top 3.
You know what? You know what I like about that? You know what I love about that interview? We didn't have to go to a place where he's probably just OD'd on it. You know what I mean? He's probably sick of talking about. And we didn't go there. And that's the one thing I'm really happy about that. And we didn't have to. And that's why I really like about that. And his memory. Holy hell. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean,
he has.
He's in the top 5 for sure. We got to put him in with when we had Thrasher on, P.P. Ray, Paul. The one we did with Paul London recently. Well, that was pretty good. I mean, to me, he's in my top 5 somewhere. We got to move on to something else. But before we do that, let's take a commercial break.
This is the biggest man in professional wrestling, PPA, all day, Pretty Peter Avalon, and you're listening to WrestlingHeads Radio.
Yeah, I had to put Cena sucks. Yeah. You guys checked out Raw tonight or no?
Yes.
Bruce, did you check out Raw?
No, dude, I just got home from work.
Yeah, it was, I just say maybe it has to be a decent episode, I guess. It started off pretty good with an okay match. We've seen better, though, between Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan. I mean, they could have done better.
Yeah.
Like,
they just weren't.
Right, Chris?
Yeah, they've fought a million times, and they've had a million great matches. I mean, but eventually, they just weren't on the same page at all. And I was just glad that Ambrose didn't blow out his knee when he did that spot over the top rope, because it looked pretty close that was a possibility. But I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't the worst match I've ever seen. We're not saying that. It's just you could tell they weren't on the same page.
Yeah, and
but they're pros. They're pros when they're not on the same page. It's still better than anybody else. You know, we're not killing the guy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, he looks like he did injure himself. Yeah, if you look later on the show, he was kind of limping during the tag team contender match between the Shield and the Usos. He looked like he was limping around. He wasn't even moving around that much. He was just by the announcer's side, and he just didn't want to move around until Goldust and Cody got involved, and he had to get involved, get a little roughed up a little bit. Then he was limping towards the little ramp so he could go to the crowd area, and so I hope he's not serious. I hope he can continue on what he's doing, continue being the United States champion. So
I hope he dodged the bullet. I hope he's lucky, because it was close.
Yeah. Big E Langston's face turn happened on SmackDown last week, but now it continued on Raw, which I kind of liked. I kind of liked he did the face turn on SmackDown, so it could continue on with the story going on Raw. In which they announced today that the pre-show for this was Sunday's Hell in a Cell is going to be Curtis Axel defending the title against Big E Langston, which I got a feeling Curtis Axel is going to lose the title this weekend. Yeah,
I agree. And it's not to say that Curtis Axel is a bad wrestler. It's just, to me, and I don't know, maybe I'm just wrong, has he got over as much as people thought he was going to get over? Or, you know what I mean? I mean, this just looks like a Big E win here. It's coming up, to go a different way. I don't know.
I know there's reports about. Yeah, I agree, but make him worth being Intercontinental Champion. I think he should not drop the title this weekend. But I feel like WWE is rushing Big E Langston. Like, they want this guy to be a top babyface. So
they're going to force feed it. They will force feed.
I think
he's a guy they will force feed.
Yeah, but would it sound more sense if they do have this match this week at the pre-show, and then have Axel somehow sneak his way out of you can say sneak away to retain the title, like he gets himself disqualified or something like that, and then they continue on the feud to Survivor Series, and I think that's the perfect spot for Big E Langston to win the Intercontinental Champion in Survivor Series.
I think just have them roll out of the ring and just fight on to the dressing room, get counted out, and just have them kick the shit out of each other for a while or something. Just, you know what I mean? And continue it, like you said. I don't know. I mean, would I have put Big E as IC champion? No, I'm sure you wouldn't have. I mean, we all like Curtis Axel here, but you know how they are, though. You know, they're quick to judge. They're quick to, to react. And personally, I think they're going to put the strap on Big E. And I don't know. I think me and you talked earlier, and I don't know if you still feel the same way, but who knows? They've done sillier things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. Like, they're just rushing things too much. Where was he the last couple of months? Last time I saw him he was still with AJ during the summertime, and he just disappeared for a bit. I mean, they could have done something, have a face turn around September last month, continue on, and slowly bring him up as a face. Didn't win the Intercontinental title, I mean, you're still making the Intercontinental title look like shit. The way you're going to make them win the title this weekend, if they're going that route.
But here's a question, and I don't even know if Bruce is still on, but this is for both. Okay, let's say, and everyone's predicting it all over Twitter, all over the friggin' internet, that just obviously Big E wins. So probably WWE reads that and makes a different ending. But anyway, what do you do with Curtis Axel after if he does lose his belt? I mean, do you make him the weak link in Paul Heyman's guys? I mean, how do you go? Where do you go from there to keep him up strong? It's not like he's a 40-year vet. He's just getting started. Where do you go from here with him? If this is the title.
I'll let Bruce start off in this one. Bruce, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's cutting in and out.
Oh, did you hear what
Skype
Chris?
is way better.
Oh yeah,
Can
we
you
got
guys hear?
Toby joining us too. Yeah, we got Toby joining us too.
I mean, where do you go from here though? Basically, if he does lose the belt, I don't know. Just make him a punk, or
give him more of an edge, really, because I like him personally, but as a character, it's very drab.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have that much of an aggressive edge to him when he's in the ring. I want to see more of him, but at the same time, what I'm being force-fed is just like not catching on with me. But I want it to, this guy deserves it. And I want to say, I hate to say a repackage, even though they just gave him the name change, which was sorely needed. That's fine. But do something with, like, the look, change the hair, give him a different attitude, please, just something, because I want to see him get stuck on NXT or in the doghouse or get shitted on. I just want something positive to happen.
Like, do you make him the frigging, the jealous one, because Ryback's getting all of Paul Heyman's attention, because he's enamored with him? You go that route. I mean, I don't know if he'd be a good face. I don't know. I mean, it's just, they seem like they're struggling here, and that's why I feel all signs point to Big E winning his belt. He's not as over as I thought he would be. Just my opinion.
Well, I think a lot of people can agree with that. He just can't get the heat of the crowd behind him. And then Big E, it's like they haven't really given him a decent push, which I think they're also using the belt as an experiment to push Axel, not working. Big E has more of an imposing nature. They're going to put the belt on him, see if they can use it like, instead of more of a reward, but more as an enhancement to try to see if they can get Big E over, because I don't think he really got over much as a heel either. And I'm thinking hopefully with the belt, the crowd will catch on to him and push him, or the crowd will like him, and he'll get some positive feedback from the crowd, and hopefully Big E's face turn will do something. Maybe Curtis Axel turning face will do something for him also. That's probably the last thing that they have to try.
See, Bruce, I disagree with you. The Intercontinental Championship right now is meaningless. No matter who has it, it doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. They don't even fucking defend it on pay-per-view. It's an absolute meaningless title that pretty much doesn't even need to be there anymore because they've squashed it. So it doesn't matter who has it.
I agree with you. It doesn't mean as much, but I see them using it as a tool to enhance instead of a way to reward a mid-carder. They're trying to establish a mid-carder by using the belt instead of actually letting them earn it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It's just it's just the title used to mean something. You used it in the past to build stars. The second best person in the company usually had the Intercontinental title, and it was like, dang, this is the guy that could be world champion because he's the Intercontinental champion. The Intercontinental championship is pretty much just as good. So it was like, Hogan and Andre fought for the WWE championship, and then you had everyone else went after the Intercontinental title. It was just the way it was. Now it's you either go after the WWE championship or you're nothing, because this is the way the business is right now.
Or then you're regulated. Then you're regulated to the world heavyweight title. It's so weird. It's so weird right now. And me and you, Toby, we talked about this. And don't you think they should make the Intercontinental title? It's like its own entity, like a style-based belt. Not copy what the X division is, but similar style-based. So it could be. You could get all the young whippersnappers like Sami Zayn, Christ, I can't believe I said Generico, and and all these guys, smaller guys, go for the belt and have it get this style, not a cruiser, and also have bigger guys have like a weightless, stylistic title and there'll be a bunch of workers. You know what I mean? They can make that title prestigious again, and because it's a fucking cool belt and it's got fucking cool history. The history will speak for itself. They could build one segment. If they did one segment of past champions and then introduced it as a stylistic title, it would take them 3 minutes to do that. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean, like a little package, video package of past shit. It's so simple. But they're not going to do it.
I say that all the time too. Is the Intercontinental title to me is more prestigious than the WWE title, and there's superstars like Chris Jericho that also believe that also. He says the Intercontinental title is the most prestigious title because more great wrestlers have held that title than the WWE Championship, because in the years in the 80s and early 90s, it was all Hulk Hogan and just big-name guys that weren't wrestlers. They were just showmen. Yeah. More great wrestlers have held that title. And I totally agree with you on the what you're saying, Chris, is they need an X division, and in my opinion, they need a television champion. You need a television champion, a championship that's defended on TV that is meaningful because everyone wants to be that television champion, and it's defended every single week. And that's to me, you need that. You need the WWE championship, and like you said, an X division kind of a title for what you're talking about. And believe me, I'm not comparing the two titles.
But when X Division came out, it was a stylistic title, and everyone could go for it. And I'm not saying make it exactly like the X Division, make it its own thing, because the IC title is still its own thing, and it's hanging on by a thread. And to make it, and you got all these young guys coming up, and all these young guys, you're looking in Reseda, you got Regal going to all these places for WWE, trying to get all these high-flying, great technical wrestlers.
Yep.
Have them, all these young whippersnappers, fight for that title. That will make them have recognition for themselves. And you can't tell me these guys aren't a mark for that IC title. They'd love to do that.
Yep.
They would jump over each other for that.
Because that's their style of wrestling. That's what they need to go after. It's not I think the World Heavyweight Championship style of wrestling, where it's the Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan style, is not their style. They need their own kind of a style. Like you said, it's just two conflicting styles in a way.
And it would relax them as they ease into the business and not be a dick about, well, how come I'm not getting World Heavyweight title shots? They'll totally be satisfied being in an IC title reign that actually meant something. You know what I mean? It would give them time, to get their feet, wet, in the corporation world.
Yeah, and I was gonna say real quick that just the tag team titles is the only other title you need. You need what Chris is talking about: the IC title, the WWE title, and the tag belts. You don't need to get rid of the U.S. Championship, get rid of the World Heavyweight Championship. You don't need them. They're just there just to be there, pretty much. You need something for house shows, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Oscar.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. what if WWE gets rid of the world title, and will you think that might help the Intercontinental Champion make it more serious? Because that will put the Intercontinental Champion the second most important title. Do you guys feel maybe having the world title around is kind of like blocking it?
Yes, it's confusing it. I mean, it was invented because there was two brands, and it would automatically enhance one of the titles, and it's confusing. You know what I mean? It doesn't help whatsoever. I mean, just the fact that the name itself is confusing. It's the World Heavyweight title, and I understand the history of that belt, but it really doesn't represent the history of that belt as much as it did. And the best thing to do would unify it with the World Heavyweight title and enhance the IC title. And if you want to enhance the US title, there you go, right there. You know, next man up, basically. It just doesn't make sense. World Heavyweight title of what? So WWE is not part of the world? I mean, what is that? Or they're because they're universe? Or so the WWE champion is the universe champion, and coming up second is good old Earth, right? Is that what I'm supposed to think here?
Yeah, it's like, and then they disrespect the World Heavyweight title is not to be disrespected, but it just doesn't need to be here anymore. But it gets disrespected by it being the first match on the card every WrestleMania. It's like, and it leads off WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight is like, okay, so basically this is like the United States Championship now. And the United States Championship is like absolutely nothing because it doesn't even get defended, or it gets defended on the pre-show. I think a couple of years ago they had the tag team titles defended on a dark match. They were going to unify the tag titles. You guys remember that when it was they weren't going to have the two SmackDown and the Raw tag team champion anymore. They were going to have the unified tag belts, and I was like, oh, I'm excited for this match. Yeah, and it was a fucking dark match. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, just might as well scrap the tag titles now, too. You're not doing anything with them. The belts are there to enhance and make stars and helps people get over, and they're not doing it. It's just, they're having a hard time, use it. Do something with it.
Hey, when I see the WWE Tag Team division now, I feel like it's like a sports team, or like a sports team, put it that way. You're just one player away. They just need that one tag team, and then that tag team division will be good. That's what I see about the WWE Tag Team division. TNA is just garbage, but WWE they're doing the right thing. They're just one team away to make it look like a division that we could talk about now.
And and it's not like the tag teams aren't out there either. We saw a bunch of great tag teams this weekend.
PWG.
Yeah, this is the Bucks, PP Ray. PP Ray is fucking awesome, by the way.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? We were ragging.
Hold on, guys. We got a caller. Hold on, guys. Sorry to cut you up. We got a caller over here. 909 area code. You're calling Wrestling Heads Radio. Who's this?
Hey, what's up, WrestleHeads? Captain Comic-Con.
Oh, what's up, Captain?
Oh. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Doing well. Just had a crazy-ass interview with the Messiah. I hope you listened to it.
I just got on right now, man. I didn't get a chance. Refresh me.
What did you want to talk about?
It was an hour and a half, so it was pretty long. He was
it was pretty long.
All right, let me get the Cliff Notes then.
He was really humble. He
has a very, very good memory. He has a very good memory of everything that went down in his career. I'll say that. That's very rare today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What did you want to talk about?
Man, I was just hoping to jump on and talk to whatever you guys were going to talk about.
Basically we're just talking about WWE, about the Intercontinental title and the tag team division. Raw episode today was a little decent, like whatever. And also I want to say that I'm calling it right now. WrestleMania 30, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. It looks like they're starting something tonight.
Really?
I could see that.
Yeah.
If there's one person who's going to bring Shawn out of retirement, it'll be Hunter, and Hunter's going to give him an extra big payday and say, hey, I'm in charge, so we can literally do whatever the hell we want to do for our own show to have the WrestleMania match of our lives.
And he said it today. Did you hear him, what he said tonight, Oscar? He goes, I only come out step in a ring for people, that deserve it, basically. And he started naming Undertakers and Lesnar and didn't mention Shawn Michaels. You know what I mean? It was sort of a slight, and then I remember how they panned back and showed Shawn Michaels' face. He didn't make a reaction, but that's how TV works. And you could see it there, that laying that foundation, you know what I mean? Sort of like a disrespect. And then that's when he got in his face. They're definitely feeding it. You can see it.
So is that no Undertaker match? Or who's Undertaker going to wrestle?
Well, right now it's reporting Brock Lesnar. It looks like he's going to be Brock Lesnar. That's only if The Rock does not want to do WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, but I would love to see them put Undertaker up against someone that you think he might lose, which he's not going to lose, but you think he might have a shot at losing. I just can't think of who they would put him up against.
Well, what's wrong with Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar's a monster. He's a freaking...
Kind of, but I mean, he lost to Triple H at WrestleMania this past year.
I know, he just did. I know that, but...
do you really think Undertaker's going to lose?
No. I don't think he'll ever lose.
No.
Reality, he's not going to lose.
It would be great to pass the torch. It would be great to pass the torch for some young dude to be that next guy. It'd be awesome for business, but hopefully it will never be Ryback.
Ambrose and Undertaker for WrestleMania.
There you go. I think
that would be amazing.
I've been saying that.
Bray Wyatt's another guy. Bray Wyatt's
Ambrose
another guy.
should be way ahead. Ambrose should be way ahead of Wyatt. I think that the thing about this, if Ambrose is the kind of guy, if he got that victory, he would play it off on interviews for the rest of his career well. He would be able to brag about it very well. And I don't see many guys on that roster like Ryback, which was a topic earlier. He couldn't do a promo to save his mother's life, and Ambrose would be able to use that pin or pinfall for the rest of his career well. I would love it to be Ambrose. But
I would love to have Ambrose, but it has to happen when the Shield breaks up. It could be WrestleMania 31.
Thing is, I just don't. I don't see it happening this quick. I think they're going to do a slow thing, a slow build up with Ambrose to be this next big thing, but it's going to be a few years. We'll see.
So, Chris, what you're saying is when Ambrose leaves the Shield and he breaks out on his own, you're predicting Ambrose to be the next Daniel Bryan. It seems like what you're.
No, he's not Daniel Bryan. No, he is not Daniel Bryan whatsoever. Personally, I think he is all around, in my eyes, better. Not a wrestler, but in my eyes, what the WWE wants and could use on television during promos and wrestling, I would say he's a better guy. In as a heel, I think he would be phenomenal. I think he would be a legend. I think, and everyone compares him to Roddy Piper, and believe me, I grew up on Piper. I mean, believe me, I have everything Piper ever did since the early '80s on video. Right now, I go upstairs and watch it. Dean Ambrose is fucking incredible. When they let him be Moxley, it's gonna revolutionize the business.
That'll be cool. So you're just saying he'll be a top guy.
He is going to be one of the greatest that company's ever seen during promos, if they let him be him. And who am I to say that? I'm just a guy sitting here on the couch. But it seems like everybody says that. Every interview we ever do, every shoot interview you ever read, every promoter is pushing his guy, saying he's the next this, he's the next that.
I hope you're right, because it seems like mid-2000s we had this huge wave of new superstars come up, and it was like in with the new, out with the old. And now all of a sudden the WWE has just kind of become stagnant. We've been watching the same wrestling for the past 6-7 years. It's John Cena versus the world. And it's just how many times are we going to see the same match over and over again? So, I mean, I hope you're right, and I hope that we have another big wave of wrestlers come in.
I don't even think this year that he's been on top in the main event status. He's been on for a year straight on main event after main event with the Shield. I don't think people realize they're not even scratched the surface what they could do with this guy. They haven't. I mean, it's going to be bonkers when they put the machine behind him as a heel. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Believe it or not.
All right, guys, we got a little bit of time. I just want to let our listeners know we're gonna let you guys go. But join us Monday. We have another show on Monday. I'm sorry, not Monday. Wednesday. Follow us on Wrestling Heads. Follow me at Sinister682. Follow Toby at Toby4 Wrestling. Chris at Ring of Honor Code. Captain Comic-Con, what's your Twitter? ROH Code. What's your Twitter?
Icon of Comic-Con. At Icon of Comic-Con.
And Bruce, what is yours?
Bcraft4637.
All right, then. Well,
are we going overtime?
Until Wednesday,
are we going overtime, Oscar?
No, we can't go overtime. But to Wednesday,
can't?
peace.
All right, later.
All right.